if nakamit ba ta? Murag nakamit ta last time because I gave you already the instructions for the activity. And then, I gave you also a recording from the previous batches, no? So that makakuan ta, wait lang for So, I gave several ng instructions for your activity. Naka-check na ko actually sa inyong activity. And then, wait lang, me. So, sorry. Kuan sa ko, login ko sa other account so that while ga-discuss ko, dili ta ma-disrupt, I can add your classmates here in our Google Meet. Google Meet. Should for a while, students okay. Okay. So, welcome to chapter 2. Last time, I gave you a recording because we weren't able to meet, no, kay, naatay mga kuan ato, no, natay, usa ka meeting nga, wala ta naka-meet after the orientation. So, muna nagpa-activity ko. I already checked all of your, answers. So, wala pa. Samtang wala pa ta naka-prelim at the end of the month. Hopefully, you'll be able to submit na already your activities. No, kay para ma-include pa na ako sa computation. Kay after chapter 2, matiwasan na tanan, I'll be giving also an activity because you only meet once a week. So, the entire lesson of chapter 2, we will finish that one tonight. And then, next meeting, activity naman, tapos mag-klase na po ko for the continuation of the history of the hospitality industry. So basically in chapter 1, although you have seen a recording of the discussion nato sa chapter 1, ka-discuss sa overall overview of the tourism industry. And also in chapter 1, na-discuss po to dito ang definition of tourism, how it differs from the hospitality industry. We weren't able to meet in like an synchronous class because you had an activity afterwards, but I do hope you were able to watch that recording. So now we will continue with the history of tourism. Now chapter 2 is quite long because we're going to discuss the history of tourism for tonight. Yeah, medyo broad pa kaayo siya. And then mo discuss pa ko sa history of hospitality, which is the next topic still under chapter 2. And then the last one will be the pioneers in the hospitality industry, which is ang mga pioneers are these following people who made or who have contributed to the growth of tourism. Lang it for a while. Okay, admit na kayong classmates sa Google Meet room. So, here are our learning objectives. First, at the end of this lesson, you'll be able to explain the historical changes which have affected the growth and development of the tourism industry. Second, you'll be able to describe the international travel patterns. And the third one, you'll be able to identify the factors that favor the growth of tourism. So, in here, you'll be able to know how tourism came to be and how originally it wasn't about travel for pleasure only. There were a lot of reasons why people travel even sa karaan pa nga panahon. So we will start first with early tourism. The term tourism was used in the early 19th century. Before, tourism was not known as a means of like what we know now, no, kanang mass tourism, where people would gather in one place and then they would let's say partake in any entertainment activities or events, no. mo man ang atong idea of tourism, or you travel basically to a beautiful destination and you stay there for the entire holiday nimo nga stay, no? Pero tourism before was not like that, no? Tourism is actually derived from the Hebrew word Torah, which means studying, learning, and searching. Tourism can be traced back in the Old Testament in the early time of Noah. Well, if you put it that way, no, Noah wasn't actually a tourist at the time. They were basically refugees. No, they tried to look for a piece of land where they can settle with katong by pair nila nga mga animals nga ginadala, no, so that they can help repopulate the earth again after the great flood. During that time, no, if you think about it now, it's not really tourism because there are refugees, no, but for them, no, sa karaan padaan nga mga scriptures, that was already their form of tourism. Early tourism has two forms. One is travel for business, such as trading and religious travel. So, people before, like merchants, they tend to travel from one place to another so that they can do trading, or they can barter whatever it is that they have to another town. Like, let's say I'm a merchant that sells silk, no, and these silk came from China, and then for example wala pa yung, like, means of like currency, or wala kay wala pa toy means of exchange through currency during that time. Coins were not yet invented. So people had to travel to barter or to trade whatever they have to another na pud nga product nga gi-own sa lain nga syudad, so that magkadaghan po siya ang iyang collection of things nga iya nga possess, no? And then mo man na ang way of exchanging before currencies, no? And then other than business or trading, people also traveled for religious purposes. So these are pilgrims. No, pilgrims are basically people who would go out and seek, let's say, seek sila og mga places of worship for reflection, or like for example sa Islam, sa mga Muslim, no, for them it is their, like, the culmination of their life's journey. It doesn't mean that they're dead, no? But it's like makomplete ang ilang life's journey if they get to visit Mecca at least once in their entire lifetime. So if they do that, makomplete na ilang mission here on earth. I mean, anyway, depende naman dyan na sa sa belief sa uban nga religion. And that's why they have pilgrims, no, mga pilgrimage. Sa tuwa nam gitay mga pilgrimage tours, no, when we travel. Kana palang ganing mo agto ka sa sa tawag kana sa Simala, no? And then you go there because you want to pray, or kalabanan gani dira kay kanang ginahan makapasar sa board exam, or ginahan sila ma-heal sa lang sickness. They go to Simala, no, and to pray. Mga ba nimo nagsag tourist attraction. So that is an example of a pilgrimage, or kanang mga bisita iglesia. Amo na siya. So people traveled because of that, no, before. And then business and religious purposes. Also, people traveled before, no, especially sa Greece, no, nga they're fond of Olympic Games. Olympic Games are not really invented in our century. Dugay na kay na siya ginahimo sa karaan pa jud nga panahon, class, no, where men get to test their strength. There is a competition for their strength, and then what they usually do is that showmanship of strength nga mag-held sila like competition like what we usually do now, pero instead of per country siya dito ra within sa Greece, and then may mga shot put or javelin throw nga competition, and then people would travel from different places just to witness these Olympic Games in Greece. Now these are travel for enjoyment. So let's now proceed to tourism in the medieval period. So dilim kayong anak kadaghan jud, no, not much man ang tourism activities before the medieval period, pero pag abot diri, although ning decline siya, but eventually during the medieval period, after sa decline, ning rise up naman Japon balik ang tourism or ang travel, no, sa mga tao. So during this period, travel declined. So during the dark times, it was not really a good start for travel or for tourism in general, because basically it was the fall of the Roman Empire, and because of that na mga neighboring cities or kanang neighboring kingdoms nga maoy mo wage og war sa lain-lain nga mga empire, kay syempre ilan is padako ay og property, padako ay sila og kanang ginaon nga land, no, and because of that, no, nga tungod sa war, because of the decline of the Roman Empire, it was not safe anymore to travel. And this is also the period wherein the word travel was introduced. And this was actually derived from the word travail. So in the 5th century, like what I've said just a while ago, it was not safe anymore for people to travel because of the decline of the Roman Empire. So na ay war, na ay mga tao nga nawadan og livelihood because kani mga spoils of war class para sa nang gi-invade ang inyuhang lugar. So ang imuhang property gikuha na nila as spoils of war. Spoils of war are basically when you win a war, gikuha na nimo ang ilang property and you make it as your own trophy or belonging. So ilang kwaon masking dili na ilaha kwaon na nila kay tungod sila nakadaog sa war. And because of that, people lost their source of livelihood, people lost their belongings, and then they resorted to stealing. And once they resorted to stealing, what happens is usahay na yung mga hold up sa dalan, no, nya makapatay na sila og mga travelers. And because of these thieves, which were a product of war and decline of the Roman Empire, so daghan na kay mga merchants nga wala ning decide na to travel because these thieves inflict harm to those who pass by or travel from one city to another, especially mga merchants nga gadala og mga precious items. So no one during this time traveled because mahadlok sila nga matulis, no, mahadlok man sila nga ma-hold up sila, bakuan sila silang belonging. So only the Crusaders and Pilgrims traveled during this time. So the Crusaders are basically soldiers who fought for religion, no, for Roman Catholicism. Well, in fact, no, masking ang ilahang intention is to fight for Catholicism, but it was not really a good, let's say, it was not really a good time during sa Crusades, kaya syempre there were bloodshed, a lot of lives were spent just for the sake of fighting for that religion, kay tungod syempre gi-invade na sa mga Muslims ang kaning nga syudad, bawion siya balik sa mga Roman Catholics, and then there was an all-out war na. So opo na no, mga Crusaders ra ang ning travel ani nga time, kay syempre nag-campaign man sila for Roman Catholicism. And then also pilgrim. So wala ra Japan nag-stop ang religious travels during this time. Dili man pud na sila ma-intimidate sa mga thieves because these thieves, no, nga wala man kay masyado belonging ang mga pilgrims, unlike the merchants nga daghan jud kaayo og mga gamit. Okay, syempre kay it's for trading, it's for business, for selling. Now, right after, no, the medieval period, those were dark times. The Renaissance came after. No, when we talk about the Renaissance, it's the rebirth. After dark times, nag-rebirth na. Here comes a lot of talented artists, or beautiful works of literature and art were produced during this time, and it's all thanks to the Elizabethan era, okay, that the Renaissance was made possible, because under Queen Elizabeth I, she basically valued education, okay, and this was during this time nga edutourism, no, was so popular. Now, when you talk about edutourism class, it's the combination of the word education and tourism. And during her time, she believed that if, like, kaysa sa una nga panahon, dili man, sa tawagan na, tagaan og chance ang mga babae nga muskwila, no, women were not allowed to have the same rights or same privileges as men. lang ha. So para nila ato mga babae na sa balay tuluan na sila og kanang mga like household chores or tuluan na sila how to keep or maintain a home. So during that time, it was only the man who was given the privilege to work, to study, to learn about politics, to seek a position under the court of the queen. So under Queen Elizabeth I, she decided that for men to work under her court, to have a position in her monarchy, they have to travel all around the continent, no, to widen their education. This means if they traveled all around the continent of Europe, within all the countries in Europe, that would increase basically ang ilahang knowledge in politics because, for example, they travel to Italy, mo travel sila sa Germany, mo travel sila sa Switzerland, mo travel sila sa Brussels, and then when they go to these different countries in Europe, ma-expose sila sa different culture, different art, different literature, different politics nga naa sa kada country, and that things, no, or those things nga ilahang ma-learn, no, from their travels abroad. Well, not basically abroad because it's within the continent, but within the continent of Europe, that can actually help them serve the queen better because they're more knowledgeable and they are very much aware of what are the different cultures and customs in the different countries in Europe. So, kung ikaw gusto ka nga na kay posisyon sa monarchy sa queen o under the court of the queen, you have to really finish your education, travel all around Europe, okay, for enlightenment, for educational purposes. So, the education of the gentleman should be completed by a grand tour within the cultural centers of the continent. When we talk about cultural centers, these are countries that are very rich in literature, in art, no? The way they organize their government, depende man na kung government or monarchy, kay maay kay ang structure. So, once they are immersed in those different cultural centers around the continent of Europe, which will last for 3 years, then they will go back na sa England and serve the queen. Okay? So atuwa pa na siya, masyag OJT, no? Pero dili po. So, like OJT. Pero the purpose of the OJT is that you will be immersed in the real world na jud nga industry, so that when you work na after college, no, or after graduation, you have an idea what it is like to work in the hospitality or tourism industry. Mara po nagsayngan na sa Elizabethan era class, no. So she wanted nga dili lang limited ang knowledge sa mga gentlemen nga nagwork under sa queen. She wants a court filled with knowledgeable and refined gentlemen who will work for her. So mo na iyang gina-require. That is why edutourism became so popular, and it started during the Renaissance and Elizabethan eras. When we talk about edutourism class, it still exists until now. Kana ganing mga field trips nga yung ginabuhat, no, like for example, you will go to a museum for a field trip. You will go, like for example, sa BSBA na amoy industry familiarization tour, or for example, you will visit a university, try to look at their facilities, their best practices, or even study abroad, no, kayo to seek better opportunities sa education. Then that's an example of edutourism because you're basically traveling to widen your education, to widen your knowledge. So the next one is when pag-uli na nila, dayon pagkahuman kay there were other rich people, actually kay those who were able to travel abroad, grand tour all around Europe to serve the queen right after. Kana man na sila mga privileged people, labi ng mga lalaki during that time, dili man ga-share og same privilege ang babae sa lalaki sa una. And then kaning mga lalaki na ni siya nga nobleman, they are very rich, they have the means to travel all around Europe. Now, when they saw that edutourism or traveling around the continent of Europe to widen your knowledge was very appealing na because murag nindot man di ay mag-travel sa lain nga lugar. So somehow it became more social. Meaning ana nga ang kanang requirement ni Queen Elizabeth nga mo tour ka all around Europe did not just became a requirement only, but later on people decided nga, ako dili mo ko ginahan mo work for the Queen. I will just travel all around Europe, all around the continent of Europe to enjoy myself. Okay? So muna pleasure-seeking young men of leisure, they traveled through France and Italy to enjoy the cultures and social life of Europe. So pag start palandaan, the purpose of traveling all around Europe was to widen your education, to serve the Queen because that's a requirement. Later on, when it became so popular, other people realized nga you can just travel around entire Europe without having to serve the Queen. So it becomes so popular nga, nahimo na siya og mainstream, nahimo na siya og more common na to all who are rich. And by the end of the 18th century, the practice had become institutionalized for the upper class of society. What you mean about institutionalized, tanan sila, it is already like a lifestyle for these rich people kanina sa upper class to really travel all around Europe, not because they wanted to serve the Queen, but because they just want to travel and they have the means to do so because they are rich. And then as young men sought intellectual improvement in the continent, the sick sought a remedy for their illnesses in spas. The term spa is derived from the Walloon word espa, meaning fountain. So, what we usually know about spas class, dili siya parehas na itong nabalaan karon no nga, i-massage ka, or na ay like marag serene nga environment. So, para naman nasa ka na ginahan ka nga magkuan ka no, mag-relax. Pero, before, spa was actually a healing fountain where people would go to take a bath, and that would heal them of their sickness. And then the spa word came from the Walloon word espa, meaning fountain. So dili na spa nga ingon nga magpa-relax ko, magpa-massage akong tiil, akong entire body, and then nagbutan din sila mga different dayon nga kanang mga organic daw kuno nga clay or oil sa yung body para ma-relax ka. Dili na siya ingana sa una. Although the main purpose of the spa is for wellness man pud Japon na siya, it's to heal and help relax your body, pero before it's just a fountain where you take a bath and you feel like it will heal you of your sickness. So soon people realized nga a lot of people were traveling to spas or fountains to heal themselves of illnesses. So others would capitalize on that or would take advantage on that opportunity na daghan ga travel sa mga spas or fountain. Muna nagtukod silang mga accommodation establishments, nagtukod silang entertainment so that those na mo travel dito, they can also stay. If they want to stay overnight, there's an accommodation. And if, for example, ginahan rabi sila nga malingaw while gahulat sa uban nila nga friends nga naligo sa spas, so mo po na ang ilahang ginahimo no. Ang uban nga taga dito mingon din sila nga daghan lagi kaayo ang nagvisit sa mga spas or fountains nato diri, so why not build like an establishment where we can provide accommodation or entertainment nga while they are taking a bath to after pwede sila mukaon or mulantaw og kanang mga like theater ba for example, mga okay, kay wala pa may mga casino sa una no, kana mga like theater or mga plays or kanang gambling no, mura man na sa una ang mga means of entertainment. So muna dira na develop later on hangtod karon sa modern times, nahimo na siya resort hotels. Okay, ang spa intended for healing and wellness nga eventually nahimo na siya og kanang with entertainment na an accommodation together with it, and eventually those spas are now turned into resort hotels which we now know today. Let us now proceed to the tourism in the Industrial Revolution. Now, before, the source of livelihood for people were agriculture and farming. More na ang main source of income, dara mo kuha og kanang day-to-day nila nga makaon. But with the introduction of the Industrial Revolution, there were major changes in development. sa usa ka community. When we talk about Industrial Revolution class, this is where we provide, this is where makita ninyo ang mga machines. Muna na, dira no, pagsugod sa Industrial Revolution, taod-taod, dira na na-introduce ang steam-powered ships, steam-powered engines sa trains, no? Ang railway, dira na na-introduce. So, ang Industrial Revolution, dira na nagtukod ang mga dago nga infrastructures, factories, and even machines. And because of this, they need people to build infrastructures. They need people to help man the machines. And they also need people to work in factories. And because of that, a lot of people were provided a source of income. And with regular employment and growing urbanization, many people are motivated to travel during the Industrial Revolution. That basically gave them a lot of time and a lot of resources to travel because gitagan man silang opportunity to be employed. Daghan kog kinahanglan sa factories, daghan kinahanglan sa for example sa pag-build og infrastructure or kuan sa machine, pag-manage dito sa machine. So kung daghan ang matagaan og trabaho, daghan pod og makakwarta and then naasalay income, hopefully to spend that sa holiday. So let us now proceed to modern tourism. So diri na no pag sugod sa industrialization class, diri na nagkasugod na nga nagka-improve ang transportation, nagkasugod na nga naanay for example steam-powered ships, steam-powered engines. Wait lang for a while ha. Naalay important call. Okay. Wait lang. Wait lang for a while. Okay, so sorry again for the interlude, no? Let us continue now with modern tourism. So under modern tourism, you have the 19th century and the 20th century. So in here, there are also changes na because in the 19th century, there na ang introduction of the tour and travel agencies, and then for the 20th century, nanapoy lahi na pod nga kuan, lahi na pod nga innovation and travel. So diri na ang air travel na introduce. So two technological developments in the early part of the 19th century had a great effect on the growth of tourism. These were the introduction of the railway and the development of the steam power. Like what I've said, diba, nag-start ang industrialization with from agriculture na move na into machinery, factories, and building of infrastructures. Later on, magkadugay na siya, dira na develop ang steam power where naana siya railway and steamboats na. So it's easy na to travel by sea and through train, no? Syempre through railway. And then dili na katong you have to travel by foot, or for example, mo sakay pa ka og coach or carriage pulled by a horse to bring you from one destination to another. Limited ra ang number of passengers nga madala niya. But with the development in the 19th century with steam-powered trains and boats, it's easy na to carry a big number of people from one place to another. So the railroads created not only more business by providing reliable and cheap transportation, but also more competition as various private companies invested in hotels, resorts, and entertainment facilities. And it was during this time, class nga, since it was very convenient na to travel, it's very convenient na to bring a big number of people from one city to another, nga na-realize uban nga mga lugar nga we have to also build infrastructures or facilities to cater to the needs of our tourists. So ngano na yung anak man na siya no dun daghan ang mga hotels, resorts, and entertainment facilities. Okay, take for example, before if you're going from San Carlos or to Toboso, let us just imagine this one. Before, Mulakaw lang ka going there kay wala kay means of traveling by carriage or by coach. Nya kung naapog kay kabayo na mo travel ka by syempre sa kabayo. Unya kapuyan pud biya na ang kabayo no, and there are times nga mag-rest pud ka and then dili pud maayo ang roads at that time. Okay? So it would really take you a lot of time to travel from one place to another, and dili nimo madala imong family kay pila ra man nay kaya sa kabayo or sa carriage. But with trains, convenient na lang kaayo kay naanay mga roads, no? Not really roads, but railways rather. And then at the same time, dako man ang train, it's easier to transport cargo and even big number of people. And then pwede nimo sila matingob og transport sa usa ka syudad, let's say from Toboso to San Carlos. So katong mga wala pa nakaagto sa San Carlos, ma-encourage sila to ride the train kay it's convenient, it's faster. At the same time, you can even bring your family with you kay kaya raman sa train magdala even gani dagko nga cargo, no? Nya imbis pila ka adlaw mo biyahe ka from, let's say, Toboso to San Carlos, pila na lang ka oras, no? Tagduhan na lang ka oras, sabi na kong railway. And then, when people realize, no, daghan naman kayo tag visitors coming from Toboso. That's an example ra ha, or you will get the picture ba? So, daghan naman kayo nag-travel coming from Toboso. So, meaning kulang kaayo ta og accommodations kay usually these people nga who are not from San Carlos City will stay in our place. So magkulang ta og magkinahanglan ta og hotels, kinahanglan ta og resorts and other entertainment facilities that can also help improve the experience of the tourists traveling from other cities sa ilahang nga lugar. Okay, and then makakwarta pag sila kay kung daghag gidala ang train or ang steamboat og mga passengers, that means nga wala na noon ko. Sorry. So kung daghan kay madala nga mga passengers ang steamboat and ang trains, that means daghan po kaayo og mga bisita, and if daghan og bisita, syempre kinahanglan mo facilities to accommodate them. And that could really provide additional income and additional opportunities for people to have jobs. So next is the use of steam powered provided by the increased mobility needed by the tourism business. So like what I've said, no, ang steam power, there is an increased mobility not just by bringing a lot of people from one place to another, but it is also bringing a lot of ingredients, cargo, no, a lot of kanang mga materials needed for construction through steam-powered trains, steam-powered ships. The tourism became organized in the later years of the 19th century. The organization of travel became an established institution. So travel organizers emerged during this time because since there were a lot of people traveling from one place to another, na-realize nila nga it was very unorganized. Ang mga tao nga ga-travel sa lugar, they're not really familiar with the place. Kaya they're still new. Once they traveled to that place, no, naka-travel ra sila dira tungod sa train. So naka-realize sila nga unorganized kaayo ang trip, ang mga passengers, they don't know where to go right after nga maka-visit sila sa usa ka lugar, and they don't know how much ang fare sa train. So that is why there were a lot of travel organizers that emerged during that time. Nag-emerge sila during that time because they saw that there was a need to organize travel. No, there was a need to organize schedules, itineraries of the travelers moving in and out from every city. So the first travel organizer was Thomas Cook. His first excursion train trip was between Leicester and Loughborough in 1841 with 570 passengers at a round trip fare of 1 shilling. So imagine he was the first travel organizer and he carried with him 570 passengers from one town to another, no? In 1841. Ano sa gibuhat ani ni Thomas Cook? He basically organized the itinerary of his 570 passengers so that they know where to go and what to do once they visit Loughborough. And then, they also know where to stay, asa ang mga best places to visit. So, muna ang gi-organize ni Thomas Cook. And even, pila pod ang plite padulong dito sa Loughborough. Muna iyahan ko ano. So, Thomas Cook is basically one of the pioneers of the tourism industry. He is the father of the travel agency. Nowadays, we don't call them travel organizers anymore. We call them tour operator and travel agent. And same ra po na ginabuhat si travel agent o si tour operator. Si tour operator is basically the travel organizer. Siya ang mo-organize sa itinerary, sa mga tourism services needed sa tourist. While si travel agent ang maoy mo meet sa mga tourist para to know what are their preferences in traveling. Asa sila gusto mo biyahe, unsa ang ilahang budget, and then if need ba sila tour guide or dili. For a while. Okay, kasi girag kalubat ako ang laptop. So in 1866, Cook organized his first American tour. So they saw that it was very popular na already ang kanang mga organized tours, tour companies or travel organizers. So he expanded his services in America. And then in 1874, Cook introduced circular notes which were accepted by banks, hotels, shops, and restaurants. So what do you mean by circular notes? Circular notes are masyag check kay class. For example, if I'm from the Philippines and I want to go to the US, now my currency is Philippine peso. If I go to the US, my currency will not be accepted. So, ang matabuan na, no, during that time, sa karaan pa nga panahon, wala may money changer. So, usahan ako pagbayad sa mga tourism services nga ko ang na-avail if wala ko'y US dollar. Kaya syempre, akong currency ginagamit are Philippine peso. So, nila na-introduce ang circular notes. Ang function sa circular notes is, basically, for example, na nakasa abroad, no, may ngunay ka nga, how much do I owe the hotel? So, imuhang payable ana is naabi sa 150 US dollars. So, ikaw nga, Philippine peso man imong currency dala, kayo are from the Philippines, you will just write there the amount in the circular note, 150 US dollars, and you give it to the hotel. The hotel will then go to a bank that accepts circular notes and ipabaylo ra na siya. In exchange for the circular note provided by the guest, bayluan sila sa 150 US dollars jud nga money from the bank. Okay, so basically they can exchange their circular note with actual money. So there are restaurants, banks, hotels, and shops that accept circular notes, which we provide ni Thomas Cook because he realized there are a lot of tourists who will be traveling in another napod nga country, and they do not have the currency that is used there. And there are no money changers available sa una. No, may lagi karon kay na money changers. We have wireless payments, no, we make use of online banking, we make use of like GCash, pero before wala man na siya. So to solve that problem, Thomas Cook introduced circular notes. Other tour companies emerged such as Dean and Dawson, Polytechnic Touring Association, and Frames. In the US, American Express was founded by Henry Wells and William Fargo. So these are tour companies who also followed the footsteps of Thomas Cook, and they realized nga it can earn them a lot of money. That is why they also move into the business of organizing tours. So, during this time, guidebooks were also introduced. So, what are guidebooks? Guidebooks includes details about hotels, ilahang mga room rates, mga plite sa kada transportation, nga imuhang makuan sa kada lugar, restaurants nga ga-offer mga different menu, and then also mga tourist destinations na kasulat tanan sa guidebook. Basically, it's just like booking.com or Trivago ka ng mga booking websites, pero instead nga digitized siya na siya sa libro, kaya syempre wala pa internet sa una pa nga panahon. Okay? So, mo na siya ang guidebooks. Ga-include siya all the information, necessary information needed for the tour. Okay? Na dira ang accommodations, mga room rates, fare, transportation, restaurants, and tourist destinations or tourist attractions nga pwede nimo ma-visit. And even mga address kung asa na siya. Next, let us now proceed to tourism in the 20th century. So, this is still part of modern tourism. So, kani siya, this is during na the World War I. So, pleasure travel began to expand, encouraged by increasing wealth, curiosity, and outgoing attitudes of the people. So, ironically, World War I boosted the demand for international travel. If you think about it, diba, war is not a wonderful thing to think about, no? So, if you think about it, World War is not a nice thing, and then wala man jud tay makuha nga nindot sa war, pero ironically, it boosted the demand for international travel because there were posters, press, cinema, radio, and television which provided information about different countries. And when people saw that these are the different countries nga nga na-feature sa television, kaya syempre ang kanang mga soldiers magto managlaing lugar nya ma-videohan abi sila, ma-document sila, makita dira nga so this is France, this is Italy, or this is England, no? And then that will also be available to the viewers, and then that would really encourage them to travel. So after World War I, forms of travel began to change radically. Railways declined as means of travel with the introduction of the motor car. So, why did ang railways nag-decline? Wala na kaayod mga pasahero nga nanggamit og train. It is because during the war, they made use of motor cars. Trains cannot basically go to unreachable places. Kanang mga sudlon nga lugar, dili man na makaya og access sa train. So, gagamit sila og motorized car to bring their supplies, mga like fuel, or for example ammo, no? And then ang motor car pwede mo nimo madala masking asa. And after the war, there was a lot of surplus of motor cars. An example of that, or a real example of that, was after the World War in the Philippines, there were a lot of surplus jeepneys. So sa man yung surplus? Surplus means mga sobra or extra jeepneys nga wala na gamit. And kanang jeepney nga tong ginasakay karon no for public commute, those were actually designed from jeepneys used by Americans to transport food, to transport supplies and resources. So, nadaghan man ang sobra nga mga jeepney after ana. So, gihimo na lang siya og public transport sa mga Filipinos. And that's what also happened with the introduction of the motor car. There was a lot of surplus of vehicles or cars nga people decided to just travel by car rather than train because it was so convenient than trains, kay you will not anymore rely on train stations. You can go wherever you want. At the same time, with motor cars, it's more private siya or inclusive. Dili na ka mag-struggle o commute together with a lot of people. Kaya if you own your own motor car, pwede ra gani ikaw or duha ra mo ang magsakay or upat mo. And then, dili na ka kinahanglan pa mag-wait og long lines to travel. Okay? At the same time, ihatod jud ka sa lugar nga asa jud ka intended mo adto. Unlike sa train nga, dili ra man kutob ang terminal, if sudlunon pa jud ang imuhang destination, you have to really walk there by foot. Okay? And then, motorized transport improved road conditions and it led to popularity of seaside tours. There is a ripple effect, no? Just like after the industrialization, there is an improvement with transportation sa railway and steam-powered ships. Now, with the introduction of motor car, nag-decline ang railway, ang train na transportation, but it helped develop improve roads, no, or pavements so that it would be accessible for car or vehicles. And then kalabanan, no, seaside tours na siya kay ang mga roads nga ginabuild nila tapad sa dagat. Kay syempre mas dali man pud mag-drive, no, smooth man pud ang imuhang pag-travel if it's by the seaside. So World War II also led to increased interest in travels. The war introduced combatants not only to new countries but to new continents. And then kung sa ilahang makita nito sa ilang mga travels abroad because of the war, makita po na sa mga viewers so because it is documented man. And then another outcome of the war is also the progress of aircraft technology. During the war, they make use of aircraft to, let's say, drop off bombs or resources to soldiers. And air travel, no, was introduced together with the motor car during this time. Air travel had become more comfortable, safer, faster, and cheaper in other forms of transport. And just like the motor car, nga used to be a vehicle for war, it also now became, ang air travel or aircraft also became from war, no, nahimo na siya og transportation for commuters. And basically gani class, no, few raman ang mortality rate or mga disgrasya sa air travel. Although it comes to fatality or accidents or survivors, gamay ra ang mga accidents jud by plane. Pero grabe pud kaayo nga wala jud survivors or kung few lang jud ang survivors nga naa. Okay? Few lang siya tinuod pero mas grabe ang fatality niya. Ang reason is koad po syempre, no, kay kailangan naman og mga well-trained pilots for that, no, and then lahi pod ang mga materials ginagamit for airplane. Okay, so with the introduction of the Boeing 707 jets in 1958, the age of air travel for the masses arrived, hastening the decline of sea travel. And let us take note, Boeing is so popular even until now because Philippine Airlines are actually using Boeing jets. And the reason why is that pilots prefer Boeing jets. Dili na siya airlines ang Boeing ha. Ang airline company mo na ang Cebu Pacific, Philippine Airlines, AirAsia. But ang Boeing is a type of aircraft nga ginagamit sa masking kinsa nga airline company. Philippine Airlines, they make use of Boeing jets. Okay? Other airlines, like I think United Airlines sa States, no, gagamit sila og Boeing jets. Kay it's lighter, the materials are lighter and easy to navigate. And just like the introduction of motor car that declined the railway travel, air travel also declined sea travel. And then after the post-war recovery years, there was an increase of private car ownership because they saw it's convenient, makasave kag time, and then makaabot ra kasi mong intended destination if you travel by car. Road improvements brought more distant resorts closer to major cities. And people now have an opportunity to travel conveniently because mo na siya, no, even if sa mga liblib nga o ano sulunan nga mga places, it can be reached by motor cars as long as there is road lang jud no nga available. So there's also an increase in discretionary income and leisure time due to labor negotiations and social legislation. The length of official and paid holidays increase. Government have created more vacation time by incorporating isolated public holidays into familiar long weekends. So there is an increase in long weekends na. There are also other opportunities para mo boost ang moral sa mga empleyado, like give them incentives, give them additional income or promotions that can help also in encouraging tourism. Kaya syempre, kung taas-taas imong time for day off, na kay time to travel. If dako-dako imong income, na kay extra money to travel. Okay? If you incentivize ang travel, let's say if you're doing well at work, your reward for that good job sa work is an incentivized travel, all paid expenses, that could really encourage travel even further. So business travel flourish, leading to conference and incentive travel. Okay, so it's already 7 o'clock. Let us take a short break of at least come back lang by 7:20 so that we can continue with our discussion on the origin of tourism in the Philippines, international travel patterns, and favors that factor the growth of tourism. Okay, please come back. Dili pa ni siya paano ka. I will be checking your attendance and call your name after the class. So for now, we will take a short break and get our dinner. Kaon sa ta, take a short break off sa screen, and also to relax your mind.